Are your staff scared of the EHO? Or maybe you're scared. Or maybe you're scared of your staff being scared of the EHO. Hi, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm so excited to have you here with me. For those of you who are new here, welcome. Let me introduce myself. I'm Chartered Environmental Health Officer Natalie Stanton, and I've worked for local authorities for roughly 11 years. And I've inspected hundreds, if not thousands, of food businesses just like yours. I'm now the owner of a video-based online food hygiene training platform. And I'm here to help you get confident with food safety in your business. So let's get started. Today then, I would like to talk about food hygiene inspections because the way the officer is dealt with can impact your food hygiene rating. Over the years, I've seen food businesses end up with a low rating in circumstances where this was very preventable, had they known how to approach the inspection or how to get prepared for it. Sometimes it's things like staff panicking and doing or saying something they wouldn't normally do, or it can be that no one on the premises is able to actually deal with the officer, answer their questions, direct them to the necessary paperwork, etc. For example, I've literally turned up to do food hygiene inspections where I get totally ignored, or you try and ask staff basic questions and they say they don't know, and literally sort of no one on the premises knows where paperwork is, where anything is, and the officer's pretty much just left standing there and just left to get on with the inspection. In these situations, like literally no one on the premises was able to actually take charge of the situation, and people kind of just seem to bury their heads in the sand. Now, when this happens, the officer really doesn't have confidence in how a business is being run. And let's face it, the officer isn't going to turn around and just go away. They are going to continue the inspection. So there is good news, because fortunately, it doesn't need to be this way, because food hygiene inspections are pretty simple when you and your team know what to expect. So with some basic knowledge, you can make sure that your team members are ready and confident for your next EHO inspection. I'm going to share with you 7 tips that if you follow, then your next inspection should be a breeze. So the first one, number 1, is be prepared. I cannot emphasize this enough. Like with most things, preparation is absolutely key. So don't just forget about your inspection and hope that it never happens, because sooner or later it will. So instead, I recommend take steps to get prepared by starting to understand the sorts of things that the officer's going to be looking at. And then you can be the one checking first of all that you have these things in place. Because surely it's better that you check first rather than the officer turning up and finding shortcomings. Now you might be thinking, but how will I know what the officer's going to check? And that's a very good question. I would say a good starting point is actually looking at your food safety management system and making sure you and your team are following what is written in there. Because this is something that the officer's going to check anyway. They're going to look at what is written in your procedures, so in your food safety management system, and they're going to see, do you actually follow them in practice? So let me give an example. Let's say the food safety management system that you're using is the Safer Food Better Business Pack. Actually go through the pack and read what it says in there, because there's loads of useful information in there that's going to give you a really good idea of the sorts of things that the officer's going to look at. I literally can't tell you how many businesses reach out to me asking what they should expect from their EHO inspection or how they can prepare, and they haven't even read the SFBB pack. Seriously, if you're using the SFBB pack in your business, there's so much value in that pack. I've inspected businesses who have a copy of the pack on site, but it's clear that they've not even taken the time to read it. If they had, I'm pretty sure I wouldn't be finding a lot of the issues that I tended to find. So another way then to get prepared for your inspection is to understand the 3 key areas that an officer will assess to determine your food hygiene rating. And these 3 areas are food safety and hygiene procedures, structure in cleaning, and confidence in management and control procedures. If you want to know more about these, check out my other video where I cover them in detail. You can also download my free 50-point food hygiene inspection checklist that goes into more detail on these 3 areas, and I'll drop the link below for you. So number 2 then, the second thing that I recommend you do to get prepared is be organised. So keep your food safety management system and your food safety records on site. They should be on site at all times, but also make sure your team members know, first of all, what these things are and where they are. These are things an officer will always need to see. And an inspection, it really doesn't get off to a good start if no one on site knows what the officer's talking about, or people are running around like headless chickens trying to find the paperwork. And there's been so many times I've asked to see a food business's food safety management system and their food safety paperwork, and I've phrased it in many different ways. For example, I'll say, can I see your food safety management system, please? Blank look. Your HACCP system? Blank look. The Safer Food Better Business pack? Blank look. The SFBB pack in the white, the white book? Ah, yes. So, yeah, it goes like this quite often, and it really doesn't need to if people know the key items of paperwork that the officer is going to need to see. So, your food safety management system, SFBB pack, please make sure your team know what it is. And let's face it, these items should be used regularly. Food safety records should be completed daily. So alarm bells are going to be ringing when these things can't be found or no one actually even knows what they are. So I would suggest, first of all, that you get clear on what records you have that the officer may want to see. I'll share some examples with you shortly. Then get all of these items organised and stored somewhere where they can be easily found. Now, if you think you may not be on site at the time of the inspection, if maybe you're not always on site, let your team members know where these items are as well, or at least a couple of team members, so that there's always someone who can be responsible when the officer turns up. Like, I know this may sound obvious, and these things are so simple to do, but so many businesses just don't do them, and then it means they're probably going to get a low food hygiene rating. And it doesn't need to be this way. As you can see, it's literally so preventable. So as I promised, I'd run through some of the key records that an officer will probably want to see during a food hygiene inspection. So first of all, your food safety management system. So for example, the Safer Food Better Business pack, or if you're using a different HACCP system, then it will be that. Records such as temperature records, records of opening and closing checks, cleaning schedule. So if you're using the SFBB pack, then you may be using the cleaning schedule in there, or if not, you may be using a different one. Pest control records, if you have a pest control contract in place. Waste transfer notes showing collection of your waste and any waste oil. Staff food hygiene training certificates. Allergen information for your dishes. Okay, number 3 then is be aware of the basic things and get them right. What I mean is, there are some really basic things that the officer's going to check during a food hygiene inspection, and please make sure these things are always in place. Again, they're going to sound really obvious when I share them, but I can't tell you how many times I've done inspections and these things are missing. Imagine if you're the officer and you turn up to start the inspection, you go to wash your hands and there's no soap, or there's no hand drying facilities such as paper towels, or worse, there's no hot water, or there's no water at all at the wash hand basin. Yes, I've encountered all of these things many times. Please make sure that your hand wash sinks are working and they have soap, paper towels, hot water, etc. It's a basic requirement for food handlers to be able to wash their hands. So as I said, please make sure there's hot and cold water or appropriately mixed warm water. There's soap, there's drying facilities such as paper towels. Please don't let the officer find that these things are missing. Make sure these checks are done by you or your team first thing when you first open your business up for the day. Another basic thing is making sure that you have plenty of sanitizer or antibacterial spray to clean and disinfect food preparation surfaces. Please also check this first thing. If you run out, go and buy some. Don't wait for the officer to turn up and find this. But obviously, ideally, just make sure you have a plentiful supply of sanitizer or antibacterial spray and buy more before you run out. Now, there are many more things that you need to have in place, but these are the real basic ones that I've seen time and time again that are just so easy to get right. So number 4 then is be confident. Hopefully, having taken steps to get prepared and get organised, you and your team should be clearer on what the officer's going to be looking at. So hopefully you can now feel a little bit more confident. But I would definitely recommend that whoever accompanies the officer around during the inspection knows roughly what to expect and how to approach a food hygiene inspection. And they should be able to deal with the officer in a confident and polite manner. The officer is going to be looking at what's happening in practice, such as, are food handlers washing their hands regularly? Are they using the correct hand washing technique, etc.? So please make sure your staff are trained in this too, but also just let them know as a heads up that the officer will probably be observing them, but it's not something that they need to panic about. For team members who may not be accompanying the officer around on the inspection, I'll get my words out, I recommend just making sure they're still confident so they don't panic when the officer turns up and then do something silly. For example, there's been times when I've turned up to do inspections, staff members have panicked and they've gone and done things that they wouldn't normally do, like chucking raw meat into the fridge next to ready-to-eat foods, for example. Obviously, the result of this is cross-contamination, and the consequence of staff doing something silly like this is likely to be a low food hygiene rating. So please just remind team members that when the officer does turn up, they just need to carry on working as normal. There's no need to panic. Just keep calm and just carry on, as I said, carry on working as normal. I know it can be daunting for staff when the EHO turns up, so it can sometimes help if you take a moment to introduce the officer to your team members. It can maybe help to calm any nerves. Also signals to the EHO that you're taking their visit seriously. Now, if you've already briefed your team on getting prepared for an EHO inspection, then they shouldn't be surprised then if and when you do introduce them to the EHO, if you've already briefed them on this being something that you may do when the officer turns up. Okay, so number 5 is be welcoming. Welcome the EHO with a positive, friendly attitude in the same way that you would with your customers. Although it may not seem like it sometimes, they are human too. And first impressions are important, and you do want the officer to have confidence in your business as soon as they arrive. When I've turned up to do some inspections, I've had staff acting cagey or even totally ignoring me during an inspection. This sort of behaviour does raise suspicion, as I'm sure you can appreciate. I mean, wouldn't you start to wonder why the business is doing this? Thinking, do they have something to hide? Whereas on the other hand, a business that is open and welcoming really signals that they have good food hygiene standards and, food hygiene standards that they're proud of and that they want to show to you. At the end of the day, an EHO is a person and they're just doing a job, just like you. So make conversation with them, be friendly and open. And in my experience, this can make the whole inspection a much smoother and calmer experience for everyone involved. So number 6 then is pay attention to feedback. So let your staff know that they should pay close attention to feedback that the officer provides throughout the visit. I would recommend someone taking notes, so the person who accompanies the officer around, take notes of anything the officer mentions and any areas they recommend that need a little bit of improvement. So in most situations, the officer will write down any actions that you need to take on a visit form or a letter. But it also, if someone such as yourself or a team member are taking notes at the same time, this also kind of signals to the officer that you're taking things seriously. It can also mean that you can start implementing their advice straight away, because if they're writing you a letter, for example, you may not get this immediately. Also, the inspection is your opportunity to ask questions. So in my experience, EHOs, they're very keen to help you, to answer any questions and to provide advice. So please use this as an opportunity to ask them any questions that you may have, and also get clarification on anything that you're not quite sure about. For example, if they make some recommendations for improvements or tell you things that you specifically must do, if you don't quite understand, please, during the inspection, take the opportunity to get this clarification to make sure that you do understand exactly what they want you to do. And number 7 then is brief your team. So, if necessary, get them to watch this video if you like. Let them know what to expect from a food hygiene inspection. Use my food hygiene inspection checklist to show them the key areas the officer is going to look at. Let them know the records that the officer will want to see and where they're stored in your business. And decide who in your business will be responsible for taking the lead and dealing with the officer when they turn up to do your inspection. And if that person's off sick, then have someone as a backup who will step up into their place. And finally, brief your team members and tell them not to panic when the officer turns up. Tell them to take a deep breath, smile, and proudly show the officer how your business manages food safety. I really hope you found this video helpful. If you feel more confident now for your inspection, I would love to know. Please let me know in the comments. Wishing you the best of luck for when you do have your food hygiene inspection. You've totally got this. Thank you so much for spending your time with me during this video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.